Correct. Actually, as long as there's less than 4 of you.
4?
Yes.
Oh,
1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of you. 6 of you.
That's according to who?
County.
Well, you know what? This is an authority board. We could solve that problem. We wanted to be more, when we developed this authority board, I was on a board, I wanted us to be totally separate from the county. I mean, gone totally, but too much politics involved.
Sure.
That way too much.
This year, I think a lot of staff would agree.
You doing, Eric? Kurt?
Good morning.
You guys got me? Hear me?
You guys?
Yeah, I got you good. Morning, Kurt.
Yeah.
Kurt, we get Eric.
Eric, see you guys.
And we upped our game here on our visuals.
Ah,
They can't.
They can barely see your hand.
Eric, are you in Kalamazoo?
yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll be here till about second week of October.
Okay.
Then migrate to the warm weather.
Yeah, right. Sounds good. I don't blame you for that, as it's already getting cold.
I know.
Yeah. This week has been kind of cold and gray.
I had to put the long sleeves on yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
Reduction.
Hi, John.
Oh, I'm unmuted already. I didn't need to wave. I could have said hello.
Morning, John.
Morning, Eric. Eric, I've been taking your name in vain when I give my townships and villages an update on what's going on at the airport. I throw your comment about, if they throw a switch tomorrow, you're not going to be ready to jump into the cockpit real quick. You're going to need some simulator time and check rides. And so don't expect if magic happens that the magic's going to be real fast.
That's true.
Well, that was something I hadn't thought of. I thought, my God, if you haven't been in the cockpit of one of those biggies for months, or even a small one for months, it's not just going to fall. It may fall out of the sky. Sorry about that. Couldn't resist.
No.
And people invariably say, wow, I had never thought about that. And I say, well, there you
go. Second week of January since I've been inside an airplane.
Wow. Wow. I got a brother-in-law who I think he makes his last flight September 28th. He's been closing in on retirement. He's not a pilot. He's a cabin attendant with American. And they announced the big cutback and whatever. And I think he's getting a nice buyout. And his schedule ends September 28th, and he's frankly overjoyed.
Yeah. Well, good. He had a good long career, and
he did. I don't know how many years he flew, but he was exactly the kind of guy, in my estimation, you would want to have as a cabin attendant. He's like 6'3", 260 pounds. I would imagine if I was a federal air marshal, I'd love to know there's a cabin attendant like Jerry on board, because if push comes to shove and there's a wrestling match somewhere, he's going to come out on top.
Yeah.
I just wanted to test the microphone. Can you guys hear us pretty well?
I can hear you fine.
Yeah.
Excellent. And we have Gil on the phone. I don't know if he's... Gil, can you say something?
Yeah, I was just listening here, and then I seem to be able to hear everybody okay.
Okay, good. We can hear you just fine as well. Okay. All right. We're just waiting until 10:30, and we've got, right now, what do we got? 5 of us? We have a quorum? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. Who's the fifth?
Hey,
No, this is not.
You got Eric, Kurt, Nikki,
Oh, Nikki,
and,
I missed Nikki. Yeah.
Gil.
Yeah.
Call in and the board votes to accept you. Call in and we vote. Let it go. He's back.
That's what? Yeah.
See him over
Hey, good morning.
Morning, Greg.
Oh, Mark. Oh.
Hey, Eric, you got me?
Yeah, there's Cecile. So when we go through
Good morning.
Morning, Jim.
Gil, I think we have everybody that, that we know is gonna be here.
I don't see him.
No, I don't. We lost Gil, hold on. That's quite
Yeah.
we lost you.
Okay, are you there?
I'll be back.
I've got you, Jim.
Yeah.
Are we, is Gil there?
Gil was, and then we lost him on the phone. He's calling in. But I guess I'll take airport director privilege and ask Jim, maybe you can go ahead and start the meeting. Oh, here comes Gil. Gil just came back on. All right.
Yeah,
Gil?
I don't know what happened, but it dropped the call. I think I've got such weak signal and poor internet connection here. I'm just not going to be able to make it work.
Can we have Jim run the meeting?
Who made the meeting? I haven't been able to
Sure.
tell what you had.
We have everybody here except for Mark, and Jim would be able to run the meeting. He's on the call.
Oh, okay. Jim's on?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'll pass the meeting control to Jim, and I'll hang on, and if it works, I'll offer anything I can as time goes on. I just don't know how well it's going to work.
It's too bad you don't have a bunch of technology gurus over there to help you make it all work.
Yeah, well, but I guess we're too far away from civilization.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize you're in Montana already.
No, I'm on Mackinac Island, and I really thought probably I'd be okay up here, but I tried a test earlier with my son on a Zoom meeting, and it just broke up, and we couldn't speak to each other, and the audio visual was terrible. So this is the best I can do.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Jessica, roll call, please.
Kurt Ardema,
Here.
Dave Buskert,
Here.
Gil Culver,
Here.
Greg Hamley,
Here.
Nikki Miller,
Here.
Cecile Much,
Here.
Eric Rankin,
Here.
Mark Weiss, James Woodruff.
Here. Thank you. Could I have an approval of the Aeronautics Board minutes from August 13th?
I'll make a motion to approve the August 13 Aeronautics Board meeting minutes.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? Signify by saying aye or waving or something.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Public comments, anybody there that wants to make a public comment should go to the podium and say their piece. That's as good as I can remember.
Also, for attendees listening, I think if you would signify, if you have anything to say, you should have a raise hand function. I can push to allow you to talk. So just do that really quick, switch over.
Do you have anything to add?
Okay, moving on from public comments to financial report.
Good morning. In your packet today, you have the July 2020 financial statement. July marks just under 60% of the way for the year. Operating revenues are at 26.8% of the original approved budget. Reminder that I am hoping to bring a budget amendment to the November meeting. Operating revenues are the largest impact from the pandemic. And as a reminder, we did not have parking booth operations from early April through August 1st. So no parking revenues in the month of July. This report also reflects year-to-date revenues anticipated to be abated through the stakeholder support program. And again, I have included a supplemental report page for you of the expected impacts from that to operating revenues. Operating expenses are at 50.6% of the approved budget before depreciation. No major areas to discuss with you there today. A couple notes. So for the month of August, our parking The number of vehicles in the parking lot was a little bit lower than we were anticipating. When we reopened the lot, turns out we had some rental cars in there. So what we thought we had in the lot for potential paying customers ended up being a little bit less than that. But we did have parking revenues exceed expenses by just over $6,500 in August, which is good for us. And we did tap into the capital reserves a little bit in the last month for a boiler expansion tank replacement. It was about $5,500. So again, that capital reserve is working well for us, and we still do have a good amount left in reserves there if we need it. That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? Hearing no questions, can I have a motion for acceptance of the report?
So moved by Cecile.
Support?
I'll support Kurt.
All in favor, please signify by any sort of sign you want.
Yes.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving along. Thank you very much. The financial report is approved, and moving into items for consideration. There are no items on the consent agenda. So the non-consent agenda. Go ahead.
I'll jump in. It's Craig, and I'll start with an introduction, and then we'll get into the action items. By point of introduction, we had some concerns brought up by an airport tenant that there was maintenance being conducted on the airfield that was unregulated. We have provisions within our airport rules and regulations, our T-hangers, pieces, and other avenues that do not allow airfield maintenance to take place. Let me rephrase that. Non-permitted maintenance to take place on aircraft on the airfield. But we had people who were doing this and continue to do this in hangars. One of the things we have is our existing aircraft maintenance provider, Kalamazoo Aircraft, is having a great year and being successful, and they also have a backlog of work. I was talking to them last week, and they're backed up through into May of next year. So we have to balance with the need to ensure that folks are permitted, and certainly working through our maintenance provider, but also on the other side of the coin, we have aircraft owners who are having a difficult time getting maintenance done. And as those of you who have aircraft and know that if there's only one provider on the airfield, you're kind of at their mercy. Or certainly if you have a boat, and like I do, and there's only one operator on your lake, you have to wait for that person to be available. So what we needed to do is come up with some kind of balance that allows for maintenance to be done on the airfield, but within parameters, to give parameters, but also and keeping an eye out for that. We also have a tenant stakeholder who is committed to servicing folks at our airport. So as part of that, staff did research into this and looked at some possible options. And we think we came up with a good option that provides for a temporary aeronautical business permit for maintenance purposes. It's also called a SASO agreement or SASO permit, specialized air service operation. Within that, we wrote up a specialized operation or SASO permit for maintenance. As part of that, there's a number of things that have to be updated on the airport. It's I can't just write something and then implement it. We have rules and regulations that are impacted by it, airport rates and charges amendments for 2020 and 2021. And then also, we'll be making adjustments to our T-hanger lease, which will be done over time and with our T-hanger tenants. What this permit basically says is, you have it in your packet here, but it recognizes that aircraft operators using the airport may require specialized assistance with the maintenance of their aircraft, and that sometimes you cannot get that maintenance done on the airfield in due time. So we're allowing for a specialized permit for the maintenance providers to come onto the airfield to do aircraft maintenance that is allowed by the FAA under Part 43, which is an aircraft maintenance regulation. One of the things that we do in here, and specifically with this permit, is that the permit aircraft owner and the operator of the maintenance provider must submit a written request to the airport director on behalf of the SASO. And then we're giving a 30-day permit that can be renewed if they have anything, parts are back ordered or something like that with this. The idea is that if we do it per event, per contract, we will get a sense of what kind of maintenance is being provided on our airfield and by whom, whereas the other alternative would have been to just grant a SASO permit to a company and they would have just had a permit and it could have gone on and on. But we would not have understood the scope of what kind of aircraft maintenance is being provided on the airport. So doing this per event allows us to get the information, also allows our operations folks to understand what is going on the airport at different times. So that was the MO behind the one-time permit. You still have to have all your licenses and certifications. You can't just come onto the airport and start fixing airplanes. And then also we require insurance, which is already required of people doing business on the airport. So we're just ensuring that it's put into here. And then in the way of fees, we're asking for a $25 permit fee, and then also 4% of gross income of the total invoice. Our on-site provider pays 2% right now. And the idea is that our on-site provider is paying 2%, but he also has to pay us rent. He also has to invest in the facilities that are on our airport. Whereas somebody who is coming in off airport, they don't have any investment in the airport or any stake in the game. So 4% allows us to do something like that. That's not uncommon in the airport world. For example, airlines who are signatory to agreements on those airports that have those types of agreements, they pay signatory fees, and then if they're not signatory to those leases, they pay 25 to 50% more for landing fees and other rents. So this is not unprecedented to charge somebody a little bit more. So I give you that background because of the number of the number of documents that we have in one. They're all related to the same SASO permit. So the first thing we're doing with the airport rules and regulations, we're asking for the adoption of additional language in reference to the permit that I was describing. And I just want to address that language specifically. Within Chapter 13, this is all part of your board packet in here. We added a section in here that says no person shall perform aircraft repair or inspection services other than owner preventive maintenance as defined in Part 143 without a permit from the airport. So we're saying it's allowed, but you have to get a permit before you allow it, or before we'll allow it. And then we also reduce the general liability insurance, and I apologize for that. We had adjusted those in May, and for some reason this section got overlooked when we did that to make us more attractive for that. It also puts us in line with the Kalamazoo's, the county's business permit requirements of $1 million. So that's more of an alignment than anything specific to the SAPSO. So what we're asking for this initial approval for the airport rules and regulations amendment is board adoption of the additional language specifically to the permit when it comes to the airport rules and regulations. And
Are there any questions for Craig?
So it's Cecile. I'm looking to follow in the packet as to which pages it seems like we're talking about multiple pages right now.
Yes, the first thing was the board agenda request form, and it is, the pages aren't numbered, but if you're at the board agenda request form, then about 6 pages back, you'll see the administrative rules and regulations.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And then on that following page, specifically chapter 13.4 was the language that I referenced. And then the following page goes into the specifics of the general liability insurance. And I believe that is section 15. I apologize. I didn't want to print out all 40 pages when I was only making changes to 2.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, Jim, this is Gil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to add a few comments. It's something that Craig and I have discussed, and I've also had discussions with an individual who is involved in trying to, get this capability to work on and off the field. And so what I'd like to kind of put across to the board as personally, I'm an aircraft owner, and it may end up looking a little unusual to those of you that don't have an airplane. So what I would suggest is you think about this in fairly similar terms to an automobile. You buy an automobile, you have a dealership. The dealership specializes in your brand of auto. So if you've got a Chevrolet, well, you want to take it to a Chevrolet dealer to get it repaired. You'll have to take it to a Chevrolet dealer to get warranty work. And the situation may come up that you're in a position where your vehicle is inoperative and you can't move it to the dealership to get it worked on. You got to have the dealership come to you, and maybe they're in a different city, so on and so forth. So what Craig and I talked about on this is you needed to have a way to make this not be a unregulated monopoly, so that a person that happens to be on the airfield by choice is the only one, and they can charge whatever they want, and they may or may not even be qualified or equipped to take care of your particular aircraft. And yet you've got a situation where it's impossible, or illegal at least, to get someone to come and take care of it for you. And that's particularly critical if the aircraft is grounded because of whatever problem you have. So I think this is a move in the right direction, and we need to, make sure that it's fair to both parties, because you also need to look at the fact that, true, when somebody is on the field, they do have some expenses, but, someone can't come from off the field bringing all of their tools, transporting a mechanic, whatever the case may be. That costs something too. So all of those things need to be considered in the final decision. End of input.
So I've got some input too, if I may.
Go ahead.
So to add to Gil's comments, we do have a number of operators on the airport that do provide maintenance services. Obviously, Duncan Aviation is there as an FBO. Don't provide the maintenance services in Kalamazoo like they do in Battle Creek, but obviously have that capability to outside sources. So they would be another option. Kalamazoo Aircraft, and then Riley Aviation also can provide some outside services. However, I think in this example, Kalamazoo Aircraft is probably the on-site known maintenance provider. They have individuals that come from around the country, even outside the country, Canada, to come and have maintenance performed. When we have an aircraft incident where an aircraft needs to be removed from a runway, Kalamazoo Aircraft is typically doing that. So they have a vested interest in what happens at the airport from a maintenance perspective. And I think the only thing that they're looking at is, hey, it just needs to be a level playing field. They're required to pay a fee and meet all the requirements of the airport, where others for years have not been required to do that. So I look at it as kind of a, hey, let's make it the rules of the game, how we play in the sandbox together, even for all parties. And from a liability perspective, I think there's a big liability for the airport in having outside maintenance services that are unknown, and maybe they don't have insurance to cover what they're doing, unlike other entities. So that's a big factor from a liability perspective as well.
I have a couple of questions too. So, Craig, have we had feedback from our tenants on site now in terms of from some of the maintenance providers that Greg just mentioned? Have we had feedback or interaction with them regarding this change?
Yes, in fact, it was initiated by concerns brought up by one of the tenants on the airfield, one of the maintenance providers, which brought it to my attention. And at that point is when I started doing the research and coming up with a solution. Admittedly, there is no perfect solution. You're balancing a lot of interests on this. But yeah, it was initiated by one of our tenants.
So when you say, maybe I should clarify, one of our tenants, it was initiated by one of our tenants that rents a hangar, or one of our maintenance tenants?
One of our maintenance providers.
Okay.
Pays us fees, pays us rent, and sees
Right.
other people just coming on the airfield.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, are there any other comments, questions?
All very helpful. Thank you.
Are there fees for them to get another permit after the temporary permit?
So if the person is doing work on the same aircraft for the same job, say they're doing an overhaul and they, find, that, parts take longer. I mean, for those of us who've done it, no, parts don't just arrive overnight sometimes. It'll be free for them to extend it. But if they're doing another job, say on either a different aircraft, or say they start with an overhaul, but they decide to install new avionics, then we're going to ask them to get another permit.
So it's a permit for each job.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
One additional question, how does this relate to the airlines when they're doing maintenance? And just from the public's perspective, if an aircraft has issues and they're sitting there waiting for maintenance to arrive, can any of our on-site tenants provide that service to them? Does this provide more flexibility, or how does it relate to those?
Yeah, if this is specifically to general aviation, the airlines contract that maintenance out probably to somebody on the airfield as well. And part of their, I'll assume, I will admit not to know everything with our permit and our agreements, but with the airline. But my history working with those, it allows them to bring on anybody that they need to specifically for their operation.
And so, Craig, I can comment to that. Probably for the airlines specifically, they've already got prior agreements with maintenance providers specifically on the field at Kalamazoo. Would be Duncan Aviation. Duncan Aviation has a kind of an AOG office there in their facility. Technicians would be dispatched from Battle Creek, come to Kalamazoo, get whatever materials, equipment that they would need there in that facility, and then they're badged as well accordingly in order to access the site area to, in most cases, defer stuff that's inoperative. Potentially an aircraft gets stranded there, parts arrive, they fix it, et cetera. But I would say in most cases, it's usually Duncan Aviation, probably 95% of the time. On rare occasions, it's Kalamazoo aircraft that gets called, as a second option.
That's helpful. Thanks, Greg. I think anything we can do to help enhance or streamline that process and help with efficiency for the airlines is beneficial.
Yeah, and I would say, Kurt, that's been in place for a number of years. And again, that's kind of to your operators that are there on the airport, known entities. I think what we're trying to address are the unknown entities, and I don't want to say not playing by the rules, but we've never enforced that for those unknown entities. And I think, again, from a liability perspective, that's one factor, as well as maybe that income stream that comes from other known values on the airport is not coming from those unknowns. So just trying to identify that as well.
Sure, makes sense.
If I can add one thing to that, I've actually spoken to one of those off-field maintenance providers, and he's happy to comply. We just haven't had the mechanism in place for him to do anything like that. So he said, just tell me what I have to do, and I'm happy to do it. So I think there is general support on doing it. These aren't typically scofflaws who are trying to just skate under the system. They're just trying to help provide a service to the people on the airport.
Are there any further questions? So can I have a motion for a temporary permit for aircraft maintenance?
Motion.
Support?
I'll support.
All in favor, please.
Aye.
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 Okay. So, Craig,
Jim, it has to be a roll call vote.
okay.
So,
Jessica, I call the roll.
Kurt Ardema,
Yes.
Dave Buskirk,
Yes.
Gilbert Culver,
Yes.
Greg Hamley,
Yes.
Nikki Miller,
Yes.
Cecile Much,
Yes.
Eric Rankin,
Yes.
James Woodruff.
Yes. Okay, so the motion has passed. Craig, the liability issue, is that another, do you have a need for a motion there as well?
No. All we're specifically that vote was to the the rules and regulations for the airport, which support that.
Okay,
All right.
so moving along.
Yeah. So part 2 of that is in order to charge people, we have a rates and charges resolution, and I don't need to give any more background on it, but we wanted to start this immediately. So to do so, we had to update the 2020 rates and charges resolution, which was approved in August of 2019. I believe it would have been August 2019. So all this does is allow us to start charging these people the fees now when they come in and get the permit.
And do you need a roll call vote for that?
Yes.
So a motion, please.
So move.
So moved, Gil.
Support?
I'll
Second.
support Kurt.
Okay, Jessica.
Yes. Did you call me?
I did.
Yes.
Dave Buskirk.
Yes.
Gilbert Culver,
Yes.
Greg Hamley,
Yes.
Nikki Miller,
Yes.
Cecile Much,
Yes.
Eric Rankin,
Yes.
James Woodruff.
Yes. Okay, so then the 2021 rates and charges.
Sure. 2021 is the same thing, although I will say, because we just approved this at the last board meeting in August. During that time frame, we also had a discussion internally about managing a section of the parking lot. So first I'll talk about the maintenance portion. The maintenance portion is the same as it was for 2020. We're just putting that into 2021. And then the second part is just taking advantage of this update to to the rates and charges, we'd like to include a section that would introduce a tenant employee parking fee of $20. The fee would allow the airport to cover the administrative costs of administrating the parking program. And what we mean by that is, we have, even under normal conditions, we have enough parking in the long term that we could allow airport employees, and not just our staff, but airport tenant employees that work the terminal, park closer into the long-term lot, which would be more convenient for them. But it would also allow us to not have to, we could close the employee lot down that if it's on Airport Drive down near the end of the drive. It'll shorten the walk for them, but it'll close the lot, and then it'll save us on airport snow removal, especially because that takes a little bit of time to close that. We're already taking care of the parking lot, so there wouldn't be any additional cost. So we thought it's something that would help the employees. I've been told employees in the terminal have asked for years to be closer, so this would be something that would help them in the sense of getting closer to the airport. But there is a fee that, administering this, and also we wanted to do it in such a way that people wouldn't be able to basically skirt around and share parking tags and things like that. So when their mom or dad decides to fly out, they'd say, use my tag. So a $20 fee would help us get the tags in place that we need to kind of monitor what's going on.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, Craig, what would happen to the current employee parking lot? I'm envisioning if it's in a closed lot, it gets weeds growing through it and it sits there abandoned right in our entryway. And I'm just wondering what the plan is for that if it's closed.
Yeah, right now there is no long-term plan. We've make sure it was maintained, and so there'd be no access in there. But certainly in the long term, as we evaluate our capital program, we come up with some solutions. Ideally, here's what happens. We have passenger growth in the next couple of years that we have to move the employees back there. But for right now, this allows us to bring them a little closer and also reduce some of our, I'll say, year one snow removal expenses.
Okay. Yeah, and I would just ask that maintenance, and you've already said it, but that maintenance be done so that it looks presentable given its location.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So Craig, I have a question.
Sure.
We currently provide a parking pass to our transient crew members, correct? And is that $25 a year? So would that kind of fall in line with that, be in the same area, like designated parking maybe for crew and terminal tenants, et cetera? Or is the transit airline
Sure.
aircraft pilot, flight attendant, et cetera, those are just the general parking?
Yeah, there's actually a provision in here that allows airline crew parking already, and that remains unchanged.
Okay, that's what I wanted to verify. Thank you.
Okay.
So is this $20 for anybody who works in the airport?
Correct.
So bottom line, Eric is paying 25, correct?
No, I pay 100 and something.
Well, you pay 100 and something.
Twice.
Yeah.
There's two of us. So I pay twice. I pay $250, I believe.
Right. Yeah. The airline crew parking is for $120, and that's an annual charge, I believe. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry about that, Eric. I was trying to give you a discount.
I appreciate it. Does this also apply to those who work in the kiosk for airport parking as well, or no?
Kiosk.
Discover Kalamazoo.
Oh, the Discover Kalamazoo folks. Yes, that would apply to them. Basically, anybody who's parking in the employee parking lot now, it would essentially move them over to this long-term area.
Yeah, I guess Kristen's employees is what I'm.
Oh, Kristen's employees already park in the lot.
Are there any further questions?
As far as how it's written here, is it 20 a month, 20 a year, 20 one time?
It's, yeah, it's for an annual tag, $20 per year.
Okay.
I think you may get some pushback from those working there saying they have to pay $20 to park where they work.
Right.
That's just a thought from knowing some
Understand.
people who work there.
Yeah, we're hoping that the convenience of parking closer will offset the $20.
Okay.
I guess in saying that, to Eric's point, did you survey some of the tenants to see if $20 was palatable?
No, we did not. We have, I have staff expertise in hearing complaints about having to walk that far. How's that?
And hopefully it's worth $20 then.
Exactly. If we start this in January, it'll be a lot more appealing than if we start this today.
And if they don't pay the $20, where would they park?
Well,
They can still park in long-term and pay the long-term rates.
well, we don't anticipate that this will be a huge issue. We're hoping that it's not going to be. I guess it's one of those things that will be presented in such a way that the $20 will be easy for them to swallow.
Maybe for comparison, if an airport employee at Detroit Metro, for example, do they pay to park, in designated parking there? Any idea, or other airports?
Yes.
Grand Rapids, for example.
I have experiences with one of my former airports, and we did an annual hang tag. It was $25, and they got to park. Actually, they got to park. It's further than what we're proposing, but they still got it in there. The short answer is you're always going to have somebody who complains about it, but this we think is something that's beneficial to the bulk of the employees, but also beneficial to our own staff because we won't have to spend time making sure that parking lot is open. And usually, because the bulk of staff arrives, at 4 a.m. for that first initial shift, that means our staff has to be out there taking care of that parking lot when they really should be out on the airfield taking care of the runways and taxiways.
Are there any further questions? Okay, can I have a motion, please, for the changes?
Greg will make a motion to approve.
Support?
I'll support Kurt.
And I'm sure you need a roll call vote.
Vermont,
Yeah.
Dave Busker,
Yes.
Gilbert Calvert,
Yes.
Greg Hamley,
Yes.
Nikki Miller,
Yes.
Cecile Much,
Yes.
Eric Lincoln,
Yes.
James Woodruff.
Yes. Okay, the next non-consent agenda item is the extension of ARFF services.
Yes, good morning. Specific action requested is for the board chair, request permission for the board chair to sign an extension with ProTech Fire Services for an additional year of ARP services covered here at the airport. Starting January 1, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. This is the second option on the original contract for extension. So the service contract will be put back out for proposals in 2021, and we'll reevaluate from that time. But we're still really happy with ProTech Fire Services. They've done a great job. Quick note that We did have our 139 inspection completed earlier in August, and they are actually a pretty critical component of some of the record-keeping pieces that we keep here for firefighter training, fire extinguisher training, fueler agent training. So they did a great job. We didn't have any findings or issues with that stuff this year. So they've been a great help. They are asking for a slight increase to their contract amount from 255 to 260, which does fit the budget number that we had planned for 2021. Yeah, I believe that's all I have to add. And I'll take any questions if there are any.
Are there any questions? Who would like to make a motion?
And I just a clarification, there's an option, we have an option, but the option, there's a price increase requested independent of the option.
There wasn't a specific dollar amount related to the original option for the extensions. So it was the same kind of thing last year when we extended for the first option.
Got it. Okay.
Increase and we agreed to it. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so we need a motion, please.
I'll make the motion, Jim.
Support?
Greg will support.
All in favor of the contract extension? Say aye.
Roll call.
Aye.
Roll call.
Oh.
Yeah. Let's see.
Kurt Ardema,
Yes.
Dave Buskirk,
Yes.
Gilbert Calvert,
Yes.
Greg Hanley,
Yes.
Nikki Miller,
Yes.
Cecile Much,
Aye.
Eric Rankin,
Yes.
James Woodruff.
Yes. All right, moving along to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business to come before this august group? Hearing none. New business. Greg, any new business?
None from staff.
Anybody else have any new business they want to discuss? So we'll move to the airport director's report.
Sure. This will be a quick update to the report because I mailed you or emailed you guys out, I don't know, last week or the week before, but not much has changed there with the holiday. First, I wanted to say thank you for your supporting these changes to the maintenance, airfield maintenance, and allowing the temporary SASO. This will help airport staff make sure we have a level playing field for everybody that's out there. I will admit it's not perfect, and we need to make a couple tweaks as we put this in place. But I think this got us a long way down the playing field to get this out. So thank you for that on there. I continue to work on an RFQ for architectural services with Eric. This is something that I think will allow us to work smoother when we have some architectural projects that come down the path. These are small projects that usually come up, and seeing how Eric has operated to get some of this information and having somebody in place will be good. It'll also, because they're small projects and there's enough talent in the Kalamazoo area, I would hope that a lot of this would be able to be serviced by Kalamazoo, at least county firms. We started our visioning session last Wednesday with the staff leadership team, along with Greg representing the board and the executive committee. Last Wednesday was a nice kickoff, and we continue that. I believe it's next Wednesday or Tuesday with the leadership team as well. I want to thank you guys for responding. I think I have dates now for folks. I've got it narrowed down to 3 dates. So if you're taking notes, October 7th, 8th, or 9th are so far coming into play as the leading favorites for everybody. I hope that that will continue to be so. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Staff is looking forward to this. So I'll be able to confirm that. I'm awaiting for response from a couple of you still to see what works best for everybody. But so far, those 3 dates are coming out, the leaders. And then Kurt and I are emailing back and forth about a potential location to make sure that's still available. It was available in May, and he's just checking to see if it's available on these dates as well. So we're making progress moving forward. And then on air service and marketing, just air service, I keep knocking on wood because so far United is everything's still a go for United to come back October 1st. Staff is down there. They've been called back to get their training, so that's a good sign. American is still out from October 6th through November 3rd, but we're still in the books. You can go on there and book a flight on November 4th on American. So, those are good confidence boosters for me because I still see them. Whereas I know some airports, especially the ones that lost Delta service, they're not selling flights on any of their stuff. So I feel good about that. I'll continue to keep you updated as we get more information. But the October 1st date is quickly approaching. United's already filed their schedules, and with no changes to what we already have published. So I'm excited about that. Let's see. Last week, actually 2 weeks ago, Leisure Limo informed Amanda that he's closing his business. So Leisure Limo is no longer around. So we are working on a ground transportation RFP to try to get somebody else to see if there's interest on from others. So we hope to have that out on the streets next week, so we can get up and running with a new RFP or new, ground transportation provider. We don't know of any specific companies that are out there, but that's what the RFP process will be for. That will come to you at the November meeting in some form or fashion. Just stay tuned to my director's report for the latest on what's going on with that. But that's kind of a blow because I think from what I gathered, they did a good job in the community working with folks. So, but he's closing his business entirely. It's not just he's done at the airport, he's closing the business. And I just have to say, because it's September meeting, we had a great meeting with our cert inspector. Part 139 inspection came back with glowing reviews. I was really impressed. This is my first one with this airport. It's one, I take the Part 139 inspection. It's an audit of our safety system. So as much as we pay attention to the financial audit, we need to take equal heed to our Part 139 inspection because that's an audit of our safety. And I'm really pleased that the cert inspector had good things to say about what he saw here. He didn't do his on-site yet. That's to be scheduled because of the COVID stuff. But record keeping is where you can uncover some really odd skeletons. And he was really impressed with the record keeping. So I just want to say that to the board and kudos to our operations, maintenance, our team, and Eric as well, and Bill for getting all that through. And then for those of you who are been around the airport and you see some activity on the south side, Portage is extending their water main from the west side to the east side, and that work is underway. They're starting on the east side of the airport first, going to do all that work, and then they're going to move over to the west side, get all that prep work, and then they're going to bore under the runway. And the idea is that project will wrap up later this year, Thanksgiving-ish, Yeah, and maybe in the spring with some finishing stuff. But yeah, they're really pushing the envelope to get some of that done with some concrete. So that's all I have. I'll entertain any questions from the board.
Like, how many flights will United have? What's scheduled right now for October? How many flights a day?
Yeah, they're in the books. I believe it was for 2 a day. I believe it's 2 a day is what they have in there, which is
Okay.
Normal for them.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for Craig? Hearing none, we'll skip to member time. Eric, anything?
Oh, I'm good.
Kurt?
Just a quick comment. Just I've been trying to track some of the trends, what some of the airlines are doing, and looks like some of them are experimenting with doing additional leisure-focused routes where United, American, Delta typically wouldn't have as much focus on that with the available aircraft, and that seems to be where the demand is coming back fastest, is in leisure. They seem to be adjusting some of their schedules and experimenting a little bit. So just, I know we're always tracking it, talking to the airlines, but if there are any opportunities there, might be worth a conversation with some of those airlines if they have some ideas. Especially, we know there's a lot of Michigan to Florida and Michigan to warm weather locations in the wintertime. So just some thoughts there. I appreciate the hard work by the airport staff during this situation. Thanks.
John, anything?
Thanks, Jim. Yes, I have a couple of comments. One, I started with everything going into Zoom mode to revive an old habit I had at Upjohn when we'd go to meetings and, you know, they'd have a whole auditorium filled. And I always thought, gee, wouldn't it be great if you're speaking at one of these meetings, if you could get a read on how the audience is reacting to what you're saying. So I pulled a thought out of the Olympics, the Olympic diving competition, where the judges would always hold up cards that would indicate what, you know, they gave the score for the dive. So I've started doing that on occasion now at these meetings. And I want to tell you, this was a very productive meeting. It usually is. You guys tend to take care of business and move on. And unlike many of my political meetings, and I'm as guilty as anybody, nobody seems to fall in love with the sound of their own voice, which is great. And I give this meeting a 9, and it would have been a 10, except Gil commented that he's on Mackinac Island and the colors there have got to be gorgeous. And Gil, I'm sorry, I'm penalizing the whole group because I'm envious of where you are. Thank you.
Nikki, do you have anything?
No.
Shaking your head. Yeah, Greg.
Hey, Jim, thanks. Just a quick comment and maybe going back to the ARF approval. Obviously, our airport really requires that fire response capability for airline in and out. But maybe just a quick comparison with airport just to our east with Battle Creek. Their fire rescue is provided by Air National Guard, which when the flight operations basically left, that scenario got turned over to the city. It was still on site at the airport, but with COVID this year, their airport fire rescue on site was eliminated and moved to an off-site location. So recently, Western had a gear up scenario, not a gear up, a gear collapse on landing with one of their aircraft, and it took 14 minutes for response. So I know Western wasn't real happy with that. So I know our ARF guys do a great job. Their response time is awesome. The trucks, even though they're a little bit older, are amazingly fast. And it's a very important piece for our airport to have good quality fire and response capability in comparison with Battle Creek, and honestly with Western there and even Duncan there. Their traffic may be a little bit more than where we're at right now. So I know they were a little bit surprised, disappointed when that took place, I think last month, but I'm going to guess there's going to be some changes there. But ARF is a very important piece for us. That's the only comment I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Cecile, anything?
No, not today. Thank you.
Gil?
Yeah, a couple quick things. First off, I want to just kind of throw out a reminder that the November meeting will involve the election of officers and so on and so forth. So the nominating committee, and I can't even remember exactly who it is, but we'll, have Craig get that out to you. But you need to be starting to think about that and, checking to see what's available and what's going to work. So that's one warning. And the second would be to follow up on Craig's comment. I once had a incident where I had a gear collapse, nose gear, and as we slid to a stop on the runway, and of course we had been able to call them and tell them we thought we had a problem, and the fire trucks were there about the time I stopped sliding. And I can tell you right now that if there'd been a fire or any other kind of problem, having on-site service is critical to the safety of air operations. So I applaud them also, and we need to keep them there. That's it. Thanks.
I see, Lisa, that you're on. Any comment from you?
Actually, yes. Good morning, everybody. Good meeting as usual. I also just wanted to provide an update to those of you board members that have your appointments that are either already expired or are due to. I think that we've got Eric, Gil, and I'm missing the third. We reviewed, there was a board appointments committee meeting yesterday afternoon, and the three of you who have your terms that are due for expiration, you have all three reapplied. Thank you. And you will be getting an invitation for a Zoom meeting to have your interview with the board appointments committee and actually the full county board of commissioners sometime in the next couple of weeks. That they scheduled those for October. So they knew that you're already still going to continue to serve. There's no urgency for a meeting in the next couple of days or even in the next week. But I just wanted to let you know you'll be receiving that information from Dina Sutton from our office in the near future. That's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. Lisa, did I miss anybody? Anybody have anything else to say? I know John was shaking his head.
Jim? Dave,
Yeah.
I'm the third one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I've got nothing else, Jim. He's just going back.
Anybody else have anything for the good of the airport? Or, as John says, any political comments? Hearing none, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So we can do it soon.